Go ahead.
Monsters vs. Monster House storybook. But once upon a time, in the night, when the weatherman named Derek Dale, because when his job was done from the weatherman, because he was done from his work, because he went to his when he got out of the building, because his phone was ringing, he just got to call somebody, and then he just walked to his car, and then Derek Dale just fall into the sewer, and then he got himself hurt, and there was a ghost floating, and then he just flied away, and then one of the weather workers just looked down there, and someone saw Derek Dale in the sewer, and they just called the ambulance to go take him to the hospital, because since after that. But in the monster's facility, and then he just because General just came into the monster facility and the TV just go up by itself, and the TV was turned on, and then it was on the news about Susan's boyfriend, and then Susan's boyfriend, because she was about happy about it, because her boyfriend was me. The next day of night, because they were driving into this old dusty neighborhood, like in Wisconsin, California, and then their guy's names is, because her boyfriend and her girlfriend, her names is like Katie and then Jay. And someone saw this house. It was very old, and there was someone with the lights on, because they just stopped parking because they looked to service, because they have no phone. It's because they ran out of gas, and they just got out of the car and they just went to the house. And they just walked out into the porch, and they just rang the doorbell, and then the door just opened by itself, and the monster house, and then his tongue just grabbed Jay, and then Katie just ran away, and then he went to the car. And then the monster house just grabbed, and they used the tree, and then the tree just grabbed the car, and they gave it to his tongue, and they grabbed his tongue to put them inside in the basement.
It's a long time.
The next morning, and it was on the news, then on the news they were saying, because there's a news reporter, because they're saying they were first spotted in last night by that house when he was saying, because there was army, like soldier army, because they were holding guns to aim it at the house, and they used tanks to aim it at the house too. And then the news reporter, because there was a helicopter, they just landed down, and then they just come out of the plane. Then the president halfway just walked to the house, and then he just played his own piano to try to make it stop. And something just, because there's something going on. And then, because President halfway was standing and he was shocked, and then the monster house used tree arms, and then the monster house just pulled out of the tree, and they just grabbed it out of the tree, and then monster house just crashed down with his hands, and they just roared at President halfway, and the monster house just broke at in the bottom of it. It just broke, and the president halfway was running away because the monster house was going to get the president, and the monster house was going to get president halfway. And they just and then because he told the soldier, because he told President halfway just told the soldier to use the soldiers to get inside the tank, and fire at the house, and then President halfway just went into the helicopter, and then the soldiers went into the tank, and then the soldiers said, "You heard the president, light him up." and they used tanks to shoot it at, and they shoot it there, like in the hole by his nose, with the rocket, and then the rocket just hit it there on the roof by there too again, and then the monster house just cut down the tree, and it just crashed into the tank, and it exploded into the tank, because the tanks and the soldiers run away, and they think about that. Because inside of it, because General was thinking he's gonna use the monsters to stop Monster House, because President halfway, because he's thinking he's gonna keep the words with the monsters versus aliens, he decided to make another word, like he can say he can go to Monsters versus Monster House thingy. And then the monsters were inside hanging in there, and then the butterfly Sasaurus, because General just come into the prison of the facility, because they tell the monsters to fight in Monster House. and they made it out
Oh.
of the prison.
Mm-hmm.
Because since the butterfly source just landed into the road, because the butterfly source just saw the monster house, and then because they circled around, and then he just landed there, and the monsters just get down from there, because the butterfly soars, because he's gonna fly up and fly away, and then the missing link just jumped into the sewer and then swim all the way to the city, and then because Bob is gonna go to the monster house and go under the house from the basement to hide in there, because Susan picked up Dr. Cockroach to put it in the pocket and to hold on, and she found the cars, and then she put it on her giant feet, and then she was skating with the car shoes to skate, and then the monster house saw there, and they saw the monster. Since Susan saw the monster house, because when Monster House saw her, he chases after her.
Susan?
Because she went onto the highway to get away from the monster house, to try to get away with it, and then she stopped because the highway was broken, and she turned around, and there's Monster House he was walking with his bare hands in the trees, and then he was walking because she decided to go across the city because the monster won't fit to go. And then she made it to the Golden Gate Bridge, and then Dr. Cockroach just put him down, and then the monsters made it to the bridge because it was under the bridge, because there was Monster House was climbing under the bridge, and then over there landed on the bridge, and then they were warring at the monsters. Because she was getting ready to fight the monsters, and then she was going to kick, and then she tried to kick, and the monsters just grabbed her leg with two legs, and then she just upside down, and then the monster house was roaring, and she was shaking her, and then the monsters, like Dr. Cockroach, made a plan to go inside because Monster House was shaking her, and then Bob just went to made the line, and then Dr. Cockroach is gonna do the bow and arrow to use both hands to hold on to Bob, and then the link just grabbed hold to the line and just pulled back. And then Dr. Cockroach shouted, he was saying, "Light a fire," and then he just let go and just went into the house, into the roof, like balcony and roof, right to the right of the house, and crashed. And then and the monster house just roared, and she just threw Susan into the ocean.
That's Susan.
And then, because Dr. Cockroach he found the hallway and looked up to those lights. It's kind of like the Yuva in the house with the mouth.
Okay.
Because he just grabbed on to the lights, like the light balls, and then Dr. Cockroach is gonna try to break down the lights, and then it just broke down into the hole, and then it just ran it into the water because the bridge is going, because it's breaking, and the bridge is broken, and then Susan, because Dr. Cockroach is in there, because she was using with the Golden Gate Bridge ropes to tie the monster house with hands to hold on to the Dr. Cockroach to get out of there. She tried to get out of there, and then she was tidying it, and then it just popped. It broke the rope, and then Monster House just falled and into the ocean and crashed into the ocean. And Dr. Cockroach, if he's still in there, because he tried to save him, because the Monster House was sad, because, and then he was alive, because he was holding on to the broken thing where the pole, like, where they were building, he just climbed up to the top, and he was alive, because he was okay. Because the monsters made it back to the road where they come back.
They won.
And they won. And then because General was telling the monsters they did it, because and then on the headphone, and they were saying something, and they were heading towards where, and they were saying about it. And then Monster House he climbed up to the hill because they were trying to find the monsters to get their revenge, to try to lose. Because they were trying to find, and the monsters were trying to find the Monster House, but they were taking a break around California, and they just landed on the desert of Utah at the gas station, and they just sit and take a break. And they heard a roar by the Monster House, because the monsters just got up from the gas station roof, and Susan just run, and then they found their own vehicles, so she can escape. Because and then once the Monster House found them, because Dr. Cockroach was back there, and he was climbing up to the roof top, and because Dr. Cockroach made a plan to use a bomb with the TNT, because they found it in the gas station. It was inside, because he's gonna light it up with the matches, and he just threw it in there, threw it into the chimney, and then Dr. Cockroach just got out of there, and then the Monster House exploded. And the monsters were okay. And then Dr. Cockroach was walking to the monsters, and he was okay. And they saw them. It was Derek. Because Derek missed Susan because she disappeared.
Yeah.
Even to heaven.
Yeah.
And the monsters just went home.
Did they happily ever after?
No,
Oh.
because the monsters just went to their parents what they did.
Okay.
And then the next day, and then, because at the lighthouse in Washington, D.C., because President Hopper just tells the monsters who did it, because they've done it about it. And then in the afternoon, like in the evening, and there was like a hole down there of the monster house, and like Jay and Katie were alive in the house because their car was gone because they decided to walk home, and then the end.
Good job.
Good one, Mac.
That's great. Good story. Who's your favorite character from Monsters?
I think I know.
I know it's
Which
just
monster? Susan?
Yeah.
Susan.
You know what I was saying? That because you know what I was saying?
What?
Because you know when I was telling you about that,
Yeah.
when I was saying my name's not Susan from a YouTube video
Oh, yeah.
from Elf from YTP,
Oh.
because in the Golden Gate Bridge that was that scene from Finding Nemo from that Darla thing, like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. I just found out. I just made it.
Oh.
Because I made that scene because since Monster House was shaking her.
Yeah.
Because they just and the monsters just pulled to the arrow, and then Dr. Cocker